Hey, everybody. Happy freaking Friday. Welcome to the Local Marketing Institute Q&A Live with, as promised, our special guest returning, Miss Joy Hawkins, the owner and president of Sterling Sky, among other accolades. Next slide, please.
Trying. It's like not clicking. There we go.
All right. And here we are on a wonderful Friday with my great host, Greg Gifford from Search Lab Digital. You can find him on Twitter, not X, at Greg Gifford. Joy, you can always find her at Joyanne Hawkins on Twitter, not X. And Ben Fisher, Steady Demand, your host, at The Social Dude on Twitter. Yeah, I said it 3 times. And join us on Facebook. Yes, where we have over 2,500. We need to update that, Greg, by the way, again. I'm saying.
Yeah, I was going to update at the beginning of July.
Yeah, and doesn't it actually say like 2.5K now? I don't know.
It's
anyway.
just kind of a pain in the ass to go in and update it every damn 2 weeks, you know.
It is. I mean, maybe you should just put it there, 2,505 plus. Okay, all right.
Plus, and then in parentheses, sorry, Greg is too lazy to update the slide.
There you go. That's perfect. Okay. All right. So join us on Facebook where you can chat with other people from the group. Greg and I are in there. Everybody's in there. We're having fun. We're having a good time. And more importantly, we're there to answer your questions and give you the latest breaking news at any time of the day. And finally, if you would like Greg and I in your ear when you're on the go, working out, doing whatever it is, join us on the Local Marketing Institute podcast, where you can get us on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere. We're having fun. Done. All right. Joy. Hi. Welcome. How have you been?
It's been a long time.
I know.
Good. Keeping busy. It's getting close to summertime, so I'm about to have all my children home, so wish me luck.
Right on. Speaking of your children, okay, so we're going to bring this up. You put out a Facebook post, right? You went to go see Skillet, and you were in a mosh pit.
Yeah, I have not been to a concert in like 10 years, I think since I've had kids, but it's a former hobby of me and my husband. We used to go do rock concerts all the time. Skillet is my second favorite band, first being Linkin Park. But yeah, well, maybe it's a little known fact. I love rock music, and I love going to concerts because better than listening to it.
Oh, heck yeah. That's awesome. Very cool. And Greg is a fan of Skillet too. I personally have never heard of Skillet, but I've listened to
You probably have, actually, if you listen to any sort of rock music at all.
I listen to only rock music.
Okay, then there's for sure at least, Joy, what would you say, 2 or 3 songs for sure that he would recognize?
What's their top songs?
Monsters, the name of
Monsters, really huge.
Yeah.
Monsters.
I'll send it to you after. You definitely need to listen to it.
Okay. I'll probably like do and be like, oh yeah, of course. I freaking love this song. Nice. So, but yeah, no, give us an update, Joy. I mean, I think it's been almost a year, right? Since you've been on Local Marketing Institute. I mean, Greg and I, we just saw you last month. So, yeah. But yeah, give everybody the update. I mean, your team has grown, right? You've scaled down your audience that you're going after for clientele and such, and you're doing a lot of cool shit like usual, right? So, and because we all love your tests and the stuff that you put out there, we're going to be talking about one of those actually here in a little bit. So don't talk about Rand or anything yet. Okay. But what have you been up to?
Yeah. Okay. So I just got back from MozCon. So one of my favorite conferences. I have definitely some more that I'm doing in the fall. For people that don't go to SEO conferences, I really highly recommend it. It's just a really great way to network and meet people. Like, I feel like I wouldn't really know either of you if it wasn't for in-person events. So we have one coming up in the fall, which I know, Ben, you're going to talk about, so I won't. But in addition to that, I don't know if I'm allowed to say I'm speaking at Brighton. Hopefully I'm allowed to say that. And then also
which one?
The one in November.
Sweet.
Yeah. I'm assuming you'll be there.
Yeah. I'm always there.
Of course. Okay. Yeah.
It'd be cool.
It's a new one for me. I know we should. I want to introduce you or something, but we've been spending a lot of time on our YouTube channel. So the Sterling Sky YouTube channel, a lot of time. A lot. And we have a lot of tests that we've been working on that I haven't published yet. We're actually such a backlog that I think we're going to plan on doing like a 2-hour session later in August, me and Colin, just to release the backlog of stuff that we haven't released because there's just so many things we've been working on and it's getting kind of crazy. So lots of really good testing that we haven't released, lots of stuff on like link building. And that topic, for whatever reason, has fascinated me a lot in the last year. So we've been doing a lot of tests around like what types of links actually impact ranking, how many citations you need, do they matter, do they impact ranking, that kind of thing. Outside of work, really into pickleball, and I'm trying to create a smaller community of pickleball SEOs. There's a few of us. We played at MozCon, which was fun. So like Blake Denham, I hired one of them, Brandon Schmidt. He's a big pickleball player, but that's the other way I've been spending time.
Nice. And actually, I think it might be interesting. I mean, we don't want you to, of course, reveal your secret sauce, but why don't you, because we talk about your case studies, right? We talk about your case studies a lot, all the time, actually. Just every single other week, we talk about you, Joy. No.
Oh.
So, but no, seriously. So why don't you kind of share with the audience a little bit about the methodology that you use? Because I mean, doing tests in SEO has always been controversial, right? Some people do a test on once and they go, oh, it worked. Some people go, let's do it on 5. Oh, maybe it works. Some people do 100 and it's like, okay, empirical data. It's really difficult also because you're not working in a vacuum, right? Mm-hmm. So you're working with somebody where you've got multiple different cranks turning at the same time. So that can kind of damage your data. So yeah, I mean, could you just share with the audience a little bit about your methodologies?
Sure. So we usually have a limit of 3. So what that basically means is like, if I see it happen, I do something and I see it happen on one client, I would want a second client in a different industry and then a third client in a different industry. And I want to see the same type of pattern across all 3. And if we're not, then we just keep going and keep testing. And it's easier to tell than others, but we are very meticulous about keeping screenshots and the dates that we did things. So like, I mean, my logs are very detailed, like this date that this date that this, if there's an algorithm update, whatever, that has to be noted because that can completely mess up your tests. We run into that a lot. And then we also have a step with all of our client work where we check things. So let's say I have an employee that optimizes a page on a client site. We would go back like a month or 2 later and see did this do what we expected it to do? And that helps with the confidence when I'm talking about things. Like when I say I know something works, it's because I've got thousands of pages being checked and we're doing these things on thousands of pages. And if it wasn't working, we wouldn't be doing it anymore, which we cut stuff all the time. I cut things from our list almost as much as I add things. And I've got lots of examples of that, but there's lots of things that don't work anymore that used to work.
That's a lot of documentation, actually. I mean, so isn't that, I mean, I would assume obviously it's part of your overhead, right? And because you've got staff members which are not doing productive money-making things in a way, right?
Isn't that you though? Didn't you say in Austin that you do a lot of the tests personally?
I do. I'm definitely not the only one, but I do. I do client work as well. And most of the stuff that we kind of come up with is things that come out of the client work that I'm doing. Because I'll try things. I'll be like, what if I did this instead of this? What would happen? And then again, go back and test it. But I'm big on screenshots, like looking at SERPs, seeing what moves, seeing if it's just you or if it's everybody. That question alone will kind of dictate whether or not it's something you did or if it's an algorithm update.
Interesting. And then do you war room together and be like, hey, here's the results? It's or do you see something different? Am I crazy or is this working?
Yeah, we go over it. And then also we have what are called strategists at Sterling Sky who are basically their jobs are to make sure the stuff's still working. So nice. when things don't work, we talk about it. We're like, okay, this isn't working like it used to. Maybe we need to revise something. And then we do that.
That's pretty awesome.
I'm big on measuring.
That's really awesome. Everybody that is there in the chat, that's amazing, right? That right there that's how you do it. And that's how and also, I mean, obviously there's a hidden back end of this. And that is that there's probably, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, Joy, probably at least 30-40% of what we learn, you never give out or give away, or you give it away later, way later.
Yeah. I mean, any good SEO isn't going to give away everything, right? I think we give away a lot, way more than most people. I've been told I'm crazy by some people for how much we give away, but even if I wanted to give away everything, I don't have the time. It's a time problem.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Yeah, no, totally. Absolutely. All right, cool. So what we're going to do now is thank you, Joy, for the update. And so now is to go into kind of our news / PSA / cool stuff for today.
I mean, basically, it's time for the news.
Yes. All right. So the first one we're going to do actually is we're going to go ahead and throw this over to Joy.
Pause. Joy, were you laughing because the last time you were here, were we not doing sound effects yet?
No, but that's amazing.
We got all kinds of cool stuff now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I got to tell Richard about this. This is great.
All right, cool. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw it over to you first, Joy. Okay. So,
all right.
Oh, and by the way, actually, I do need to do one little bit of housekeeping. Hey, everybody there in the audience. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. Well, I'm not talking to you, obviously, if you're on a freaking at the gym or if you're driving. But otherwise, please go ahead and throw your questions into the Q&A. Also, if you would like the unique opportunity of having Ms. Joy Hawkins audit your Google business profile live, throw it in the Q&A. Tell us what you got. Link to it, please. Or if you have something scary going on, like a suspension or something like that, throw it in there too. If you'd like us to take a look at your website, that's fine. If you'd like to throw your dog picture in there and us say, oh, that's cute, you can do that too. No, actually, skip that for right now. Okay. So first one is Joy. Okay. You spotted something today. You threw it out there on Twitter. It's a cool test. Tell us about it.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just going to cause a lot of panic, but it's not. I don't think it's as bad as people think or how it looks. But Google is basically got AI overviews showing up on Google business profiles. So when you search for a business by name, you'll see a description about the business that is labeled as an AI overview. It is not a description that is entered anywhere. Like as a business owner, you can't edit it. I believe it's in testing because I don't think anybody else can see it. So I'm the only one that's seeing it right now, which means it's a feature that Google doesn't know if they like or not. So who knows if it'll even ever make it to the public. But it does appear so far that they are pulling, it's like a summary of what you put as your description. So if people are familiar with what editorial summaries are, they are in the past handwritten summaries about certain businesses that show up on Google. So like if you Google a really prominent restaurant or like the CN Tower, I think has one in Toronto because it's like a huge building that everybody knows about and it's a landmark. They have an editorial summary and you can't edit those. They are crafted by Googlers and in the past, been annoying for people if they're trying to correct something that's wrong. It seems like this might be working a little differently because if it is based on your description, hopefully it wouldn't have any incorrect information and hopefully you would have some level of control because if you wanted it to say something different, I'm hoping you'd be able to update your description. I have not messed with it or tested anything. I literally spotted it a couple hours ago, so no idea.
The only thing I think that's interesting about this is that when this gets out a little bit further, because it's probably like the 1% test group at the moment. When if it goes out a little bit further and we start looking at it, so if that basically the AI overview summary is generated without a description actually being present, because I know in some conversations that I've had with Googlers about this, they've basically stated that, yeah, we crawl the website, we crawl the web, and that's how we're able to create that generative AI description in the first place, right? So anyway, it'll be interesting to see if there's any one of those that no description and it is present. And actually, you have access to one. So what would happen if you delete the description? See if it flows.
Like I said, I have had no time this morning to mess around with it, but I will. I will absolutely mess around with it and see what happens.
Sweet. Okay, cool. Greg, any thoughts on that, brother?
I'm going to be interested to see if it makes it past the test phase, how well it's actually writing these AI overviews of the business. Is it mostly generated kind of summaries of what they find, or is it going to basically copy text off the site? Is it going to hallucinate? Is it going to have incorrect stuff there? I think there's a lot of danger in having this there if you don't have the ability to say, yes, I want it or no, I don't.
I think they're being very careful with what they do with GBP. because otherwise they would have gone out and they would have done all sorts of AI features. I mean, they've got a lot of AI features planned. That's obvious, right? But like with the description, they were super careful with that one. And it's actually pretty deadly accurate.
Yeah.
It's when they start to take humans out of the equation. And what if there's, and I talk about this a lot in the webinars that I do about AI. And I talk about basically maintaining your brand consistency everywhere, right? And how important that is and how really important that's going to be going forward. Because what if, for instance, I don't know, let's say there's a bunch of rogue reviews out there and it starts doing what Amazon does, which is a majority of users say this place really sucks because they offer pickleball, and they don't offer pickleball, right? Or whatever. In other words, somebody goes out and does damaging reviews on purpose to damage your brand and you don't do anything to fix that, or, well, I mean, even on brand, if it starts taking data from your reviews and, making that AI overview snippet, I guess you could call it, from that. So I think that would be the interesting part.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right. Moving on. So next thing, yes, and we're still talking about you, Joy. You have how many spots left at what?
We have 9 tickets left for our LocalU event in New York City in September. So we are definitely going to sell out. We usually do not sell it this fast. Normally, we have tickets available all the way up to a couple weeks before the event, because for whatever reason, a lot of people buy tickets 2 weeks before an event. I've never understood that. I don't get it. I'm a planner. I could never do that. But if you want to come to this event, you are not going to be able to do that. So if you're in the camp of I was just waiting, and you want to come to LocalU in the fall, make sure you buy your ticket very, very soon, or we will run out. And it's at Wix's office, so it's not like we can really do much about the space. I'm speaking there. Greg is speaking there, and a bunch of other really awesome people. And if you've never attended a LocalU, it is all for local SEO, local businesses. So very similar to a MozCon or Brighton, but just local.
Yep.
Ben, are you going to come?
I don't think so. Not this year. I think next year I will. Yeah. This year's just too crazy for me, man. I've slimmed back on almost all of my speaking except for franchise and PubCon. But I'm sorry, Joy. I will absolutely apply. I will apply for speaking next year. I will come with a kick-ass presentation, and I'll come. How's that? Okay, you got my word now.
Maybe going off on a bit of a tangent here, but I'm curious to see what that number looks like when you say you've drastically slimmed down your speaking engagements. How many will you do this year?
Including virtual?
Not including virtual, just counting in person.
Oh, just in person? 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. That's a week in your life?
I've done 2 already this year.
Greg's I did 3 yesterday.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm actually home. I don't have anything until the middle of August.
What?
What?
Yeah, I was supposed to go do this big local SEO conference in Brazil, and they changed the date. So I had kind of a lot of July blocked out. We were going to spend a couple weeks down there, and then they changed the date. And so now I'm just kind of open, which is nice. I'm not complaining. I'm happy to be home all summer with kids. So.
Right on. And now, so everybody, calls to action. If you want to go to LocalU, you want to see Greg speak, you want to see Joy speak, then what you need to do is you need to go to localu.org right now, buy your ticket. It's a freaking business expense. Just go do it. Okay.
Should also say our tickets are 1/3 of the normal price.
Exactly.
We worked really hard to try and figure out a way to lower prices. So yeah, they're $300 versus the normal $900.
Yeah. So look at that. I mean, see, James just said the race is on for the last tickets. So James, you're going to go buy one right now, buddy. I know you are. So at the end of the show, what Joy's going to say is okay, we had 9 tickets. We have 1 now. Thanks, Local Marketing Institute. Okay. So that's what's going to happen. Okay. All right. So the next thing is that, so I want to talk about this little piece of news, and we got a lot of news today, actually. It's pretty awesome. Okay. So anyway, so there's 2 pieces to this news. Number one, Joy, I think it was you who spotted the Google Business Profiles testing QR codes on a profile, right? Which everybody's kind of looking at it like, well, that's dumb, right? But then I think it was like literally the next week, I put out a tweet about LSA showing QR codes to get the phone number, right? Which is super freaking useful. I mean, did you see those screenshots?
Yeah. QR codes are making a comeback. It's kind of funny because I feel like the pandemic made them a thing again. If you had asked me like 5 years ago, I would have said QR codes are for idiots. Like, exactly. Nobody used them. But then now everybody uses them. So I'm like, I put them in slide decks now. Like everybody's got their phone. So I think it's just Google trying to make it so that if you are researching on a computer, you can just like take a picture and then it's now on your phone, which frankly, I do a lot. So I don't know. I actually think this feature will be useful, but maybe I'm the only one. I don't know.
No, I have to agree with you. I mean, I'm in exactly the same camp. I would say 5 years ago, I was like, you're using QR codes for what?
Right.
Yeah. But now it's like, well, we guide our clients and we say, yes, have a business card on the back of the business card, a QR code. Why? On site, you do a service, the tech does a service, tech hands the card and says, hey, by the way, please leave us a review. Boom, done.
What does the QR code go to, Joy?
It pulls up the Google business profile. So it pulls it up on Google Maps. So it's literally like if you're trying to open it up on your phone. If you're like, you've got it on your computer, you take the picture of the QR code, now it's on your phone.
Yeah. And that's an interesting use case, right? I'm wondering how they got the data that supports that that's what people want.
Yeah.
Well, they used to have a send to phone button. So there used to be a send to phone button. I assume that would have had to get clicks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got data.
So are there really that many people that are doing searches on desktop that then need to send it to their phone right then so that then they can go do things on the... It seems odd. Like, I don't know.
They might have data on the user, like for instance, that's searching for, Greg Gifford's underwater basket weaving, right?
Right.
And so they search that on desktop and they're like, ooh, I'd like to call them. So I'm going to go look at this on Maps. And they type in Greg Gifford's underwater basket weaving.
Yeah.
And, maybe they see that and then they can tell because of the account. Who knows? That would make logical sense. But all right. So... okay. Yep. We can actually talk about this because it's in the public Twitter sphere. LSA has done something very interesting. This has to deal only with iOS maps, which is kind of weird because most tests that Google does is on Android maps. So this is kind of backwards, but whatever. Again, probably based on some kind of rudimentary pieces of data, whatever. But yeah, so LSA ads, your local services ads, for those of you who don't know, are now going to show up forcefully in the iOS Maps app. And why I say forcefully is because there is no opt-out mechanism. Now, I don't know why you would want to opt out of this, by the way, but just in case you did, you can't. You have to turn off your LSA completely. So anyway. What y'all think about that? I like it.
I mean, if you're paying for the ads, why not have them show up everywhere you can have them show up and that much more of a chance to get a call from somebody? I don't really see a downside to it.
I want to know what it looks like. What's it look like? Is there a screenshot in there? Okay, there is.
Is there?
Yeah.
Really?
No, I think there's a screenshot in the article. It looks good. I mean, why not? I can't see any reason why you wouldn't want those.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I think it makes sense. Might as well just put it on every single surface you can. You know what I'm actually surprised about? Like, do you remember? I think it was about 2 years ago, right when LSA was started to really, really kick up some steam. People are like, "Oh, Google business profiles are going away because they're all going to be paid now with LSA." I haven't seen that in a while, though.
Never going to happen.
I know. All right. So next piece of news, updates on the guidelines. We all love our Google business profile guidelines. This one is extremely detailed about fake engagement. I know I have been an extreme proponent of this, that fake engagement can destroy your Google business profile, right? It can lead to suspensions. It can lead to blacklists. It can lead to all sorts of little things that Google says on the back end, which basically means, yep, you're screwed. Forget it. GBP is no GBP for you, as they would say. And so have you read these guidelines yet, Joy or Greg?
Yeah. I like that they're being more explicit, saying this is really what we're going to be enforcing. Because we all knew this stuff, but the general public didn't really have anywhere to get guidelines on what was and wasn't allowed.
I agree. I mean, it's extremely granular. How about you, Joy? Have you gone through this yet?
What is different about it? Like, I'm not sure that they like added anything. They just reworded stuff, right?
No, it's transparency is what this is, right? Because this is stuff that we know as product experts. Yeah. But like, if you ask the general, somebody in general who's a general marketer or an SEO, a local SEO person that's not a product expert, they would not know this stuff. They might go, "Oh, that makes sense," but like if you ask them to list it all out, you couldn't.
I don't think before it had the thing in there that you couldn't incentivize someone to remove a bad review, and they've added that for sure.
Actually, I think that's buried really deep in the review guidelines, like super deep. There? But it's like really, really buried. But like, for instance, all right, I'm just going to read a couple of these off because Stephen is asking for some good examples. Content is not based on real experience and does not accurately represent the location or product in question. That's a very vague statement, by the way, but it actually, there's a meaning behind it. Like, for instance, in your description of your business, don't say we are the best in the city, because that's very subjective and misleading potentially. Content that has been posted due to incentive offered by a business, such as payment, discounts, free goods, and services. I see it in descriptions all the time and posts. But yes, there's this thing about that. Content that's been posted from multiple accounts to manipulate a place's ratings. Okay. So that's pretty transparent. Content I love this one. Content that has been posted using an emulator or other device tampering services, modified operating system to mimic genuine engagement, manipulate sensor data or results, and thwart or confuse normal operations. So Joy, that gal with the 1,000 phones in her car or whatever, right? That's pretty much what that falls under.
Okay. So like, caveat to that, it's interesting. So I wouldn't condone doing CTR manipulation. I'm actually curious, like, what's the harm though? Like, to play devil's advocate, like, so like they're penalizing businesses for doing this. So like, why wouldn't you?
Maybe that's why this is up there.
Yeah. Like I actually sent that question to Danny Sullivan recently because I was like, give me a reason to tell people not to do this. Like there's lots of reasons that you don't want to buy links and things like that because there are literally penalties you can get and they can apply drastically like across your site. And there's lots of reasons that Google has given why you maybe wouldn't want to do that. When it comes to like click-through manipulation, it's like,
the interesting thing, we talked about this at the summit briefly. Remember we were talking about that guy who was at LocalU, and he was like, I can drive all this fake engagement to your Google business profile and it will skyrocket in the rankings, right? Well, I actually had a suspension case that I was beating my head against the wall trying to figure out what the heck was going on because Google wouldn't reinstate it. Nobody would. It was done, right? It was literally toast. It was the spam activity basically was the reasoning right behind the denial. And I asked them, I said, is there anything that you can think of that you have done in the last 30 days that you have not told me that just anything? And they were like, well, yeah, we did buy this one service for about 2 weeks where they said that they could just like drive a bunch of stuff to us, like click driving directions like 1,000 times a day or something like that. And click the website. And I was like, oh, you're dead.
Yeah.
Sorry. Not going to get reinstated. So I've seen it actually cause harm. So, and that was like 3 months ago. I want to think something like that. But anyway, I think it's cool because this is, it's just more transparency, right?
Yeah. It's clear.
Exactly. Right. So be good. Read the guidelines. May or may not help you. Definitely won't hurt you. Okay, here's the fun part. And the thing is I hate talking about this type of thing because when we talk about this type of thing, there are people that hear us talk about it and do it until it stops working.
They use information that is meant to help in a nefarious manner.
Correct. And we're already seeing it amp up because we're talking about it. So we are actually the problem here, I think. Kind of, because we have to talk about it to get the news to talk about it, to get Google to do something about it, such as life. So let's talk about it. Fine. Public service announcement. There is a new attack vector on Google business profiles. Joey, you were one of the first people to talk about this, where somebody was moving a bunch of offices into one concentrated location. Now we have all seen pin move attacks spottily over the past couple of years, right? It's like you see them every once in a while, and you're like, oh man, that sucks. Bad. That sucks for you. Let's go move it back. You have to get verified again, or you get suspended. But now it's actually an actual attack. It's being treated almost like name attacks, where I have one client who's suffering through this right now. And yes, they're in law, of course. Yes, they're personal injury. So you know where we're going with that anyway. But yeah, so
I wonder, in the personal injury side, is it like the same agency or the same person that's working for all of these other people and just offering this as a service and doing it? Or is it a bunch of different people hearing about it and doing it?
I think it's one person.
It's both.
Because I don't think it's as easy as like just suggest an edit. I think they found a loophole. I think they are purposely picking certain addresses to move all the pins to that somehow are publishing. I think they found a loophole. And I think that it's a little more sophisticated than the average person could do.
Well, but actually what I'm so that's the one vector, right? Which is to move everything into one location. I haven't personally seen that with my clients yet. What I'm seeing is I'm seeing an uptick in, let me move you over to this little city or this little suburb where there's nothing and destroy your rankings.
So that's what they did to my client. It happened about a week ago. We've actually had it happen to three clients now. And like, he's an insurance agent, and it was all the insurance agents in his town got moved.
Oh, wow, really?
Spot. So that's the pattern I've seen. Most of the cases I've looked at is like, they don't just move one, they move all the pins for, like, let's say all the insurance agents in Provo, Utah. They'll take them and they'll drag them like 2 hours away. And so then I think the thing that people should look at is like, who didn't get moved, right? That's what I'd be looking for.
That's what Stephen actually just said there.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But but it's why I say it's also at least in my cases that I'm seeing, it's like a name spam attacks, right? Where somebody just edits your name. But they're literally, it's like, we'll move the pin back. Nothing will happen. They'll get accepted. And then somebody will move it back again. Be like, nope, sorry.
Okay.
Nope, we're going to move it.
Seen that.
We're going to move it 23 miles this way. We're going to move it 15 miles north. We're going to move it to this little town where nobody lives in, things like that. It's like, so we're seeing like a very concentrated, specific type of attack in that fashion, And we're monitoring our multi-location clients. We're not seeing this grouping kind of pins yet. But yeah, it's pretty terrifying because at least I think for our clients and for anybody who gets into this, because it can do A, it'll force verification, and it also B, more likely suspension. Yep. That's going to happen. So, or it does happen, I should say. The good news is that Google is aware of this, and we can only say that this is something that is being paid attention to and being worked on. That is about all we can say about it. Anything else, Joy or Greg, on this topic?
The one thing I will suggest, we're going to do a video at some point about this, about how to fix it. So if it happens to you, do not go fix it in your dashboard. So don't try and drag your pin back in your dashboard, or you'll likely get suspended. I also saw somebody else that didn't get suspended, but their listing got marked as a duplicate when they did that. Ooh. And which is even worse because like that's harder to sort out, and like just crazy stuff. So first step of action I would do is I would suggest an edit yourself to move it back using a different account. If that doesn't work, contact support. But that should be your steps if it happens to you. And we've been able to move our own clients back with just using Suggest and Edit with a different account.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good. That's a good tip. Great. All right, Joy, this news piece is over to you. So what was it? 2 weeks ago, right? There was the great Google leak of this old ass 2019 API documentation, right? So was it 2019? And so Rand came out from the woodwork and said, "Hey, I'm an SEO again. Hi, everybody. Hi." And I love Rand, by the way. He's cool. Anyway, so and then I forget, what was the guy? Was it John?
Mike King.
Mike King. That's right, Mike King. And so Mike did a whole bunch of stuff on it. So they got together and then you guys all had a webinar to discuss it. And you did a live test actually at the same time. So tell us about the high level takeaways from the webinar. Okay. And then tell us about your test.
Yeah. So I think the big one is that click through, like how much activity you get matters, right? So how much people are visiting your website, things like branded searches, stuff like that. Again, like this wasn't shocking to me, but it's also good to get confirmation on things. So I think when you're looking at stuff from the leak, you should be looking at it as like, is there anything in here that I didn't even think was on Google's radar? And if there is, then you should test those things. So I did pull a bunch of things out of there. Like one of the things talked about like bolded keywords. I was like, that's fascinating. Like that's not something I would have thought would be in there. Like who gives a crap whether a keyword's bolded or a word on your page is bolded or not? So I was like, I got to go test that. But basically that should be like your approach to it, right? Like look at it going, okay, there's some interesting things in here. What can I do with that information? But I think what Rand was trying to kind of point out is that Googlers have long said that they don't use click data or they don't use traffic or CTR for ranking signals. For the record, that's trash. Like it's been trash for years. Like that's not true at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Click-through rate absolutely works. Like if you get more clicks on your website in the search results, you will rank higher. It works. There's wrong and right ways to do it, just to be clear. So like that's the other thing. I think sometimes people just like, oh, I'm going to get 500 of my friends to go click on me and I didn't move. Why not? I've heard. So the girl that we were talking about, Holly Starks, she's a black hat. She manipulates driving direction requests. I heard her presentation. The level of depth this lady goes to trick Google, it's really mind-blowing. Like, honestly, I'm going to put it out there. I love black hats. I think they are so fascinating and interesting people, and they're willing to test things. And I'm like, I can learn stuff from that. Even if I'm not going to do the stuff they're doing, sure, I can learn something, right? So when I heard her and like the level of detail she's going to, I'm like, no wonder people aren't getting the same results as you. You're like doing all these crazy things to trick Google. You're not just like faking a driving direction request on your phone.
Yeah, and they work until they don't.
Yeah. And so I'm like, it definitely works. I think that being said, I was like, okay, so how do we take that? What do we do with that information? Like, obviously the idea is that you want to try and make sure your website is something that stands out, right? Like something that's going to get clicked on. And then also like for link building, this is huge because we've been doing some tests on no-follow links and trying to figure out like, if you get a link from, I don't know, Forbes, let's say, Forbes no follows their links. So like, does that link actually matter for SEO? And you get a variety of answers depending on who you ask. We've done some testing around that. Like I tested one on Reddit. Reddit's links are no followed. And I was like, only if the thread gets traffic and ranks, does it actually pass ranking? So it's one of those things that like, you don't need to worry as much about no followed links if they're coming from sources that get traffic. And then the same thing applies to citation building. If you're spending all this money and time on citations and you're like, I don't know, are they getting traffic? If they're not, they're probably not indexed. If they're not indexed, they are literally doing nothing for your ranking. So it was just a lot of reinforcement on things. And it definitely gave me a new list of things to track.
And that's cool. And then we'll talk about the test here in a second, but let's Greg and I kind of weigh in a little bit here. Why don't you start, Greg?
What am I weighing in on?
Did you pay attention?
In general?
You get the leak and the data, yeah.
So,
and user engagement basically is really what it comes down to, and also believing what Google says.
Sure, I think the important part of the leak is what Joy just said. It should give you ideas of new things to test.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people out there that got this leak and said, this is mind-blowing and game-changing. It's going to completely change the way that we do SEO. I think those people are jumping to a lot of conclusions that are not going to help their sites or their client sites.
Agreed.
there's a lot of stuff in there that it's all out of context. We don't know if a lot of these signals matter. Like, it talks about a video site, and there's an element in there for video site. Well, how do you know if you're a video site or not? Like, what's the tipping point where you have enough videos where you become a video site? And whatever that tipping point is, does that even influence ranking? Because this could just be an API call for something else. So I think there's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't really matter, but I think it should make people think about what they're doing, because there are far too many people nowadays that do SEO just by following a checklist, and they're not running tests like you run, like Joy runs, like we run. They're just going, oh, well, here's this checklist for local SEO. I'm just going to do this for all my clients. And they do the same stuff for multiple clients and multiple verticals, and they don't get great results. Okay, don't be dumb like that. Test things, figure new things out. I mean,
the echo chamber is
paying attention earlier. I think one of the best things that Joy said today was that she spends just as much time taking stuff out of the strategy that they do with clients as they do putting in, because they realize, hey, this isn't moving the needle. Why are we going to waste time doing it? And I don't think a lot of people that do SEO have that same mindset. So I think that's the important takeaway.
Completely agree. I take a look at this from two ways. When I first saw it, I was like, I put out a Twitter tweet, and I said, "Oh, this changes everything, right?" And I'm just like, because it's going to change everything the way that all these guys who were in the echo chamber look at things, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day when it was Webmaster, when Webmaster World was the place where you got your news about SEO, right? That was the biggest echo chamber in the world. You had the top percentage of SEOs, which are still around at this very day, which were just like, we'll say something because we tested it. Then you have this huge swath of SEOs who would just be like, well, Bruce said that, so it's true. We're going to go do it, right? And then you had the bottom percentage, which were the guys who were just learning, right? And they would listen to the guys in the middle and the top. So anyway, so it was really easy to actually put out misinformation. And this is what Google learned. And so what I'm leading up to here is during the 90s. So I'm friends with Matt Cutts, right? We're emailing back and forth. I see him at PubCon, and I'm like, Matt, and this was about specifically exact match domains, because the echo chamber was like, Google says it doesn't, that exact match domains don't work anymore. Oh, well, I guess we should stop doing that, right? And I cornered him, and we're sitting there, we're talking. I'm having a beer. He's just chilling out. And I was like, all right, Matt. I was like, give me the real rundown here. I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody, but just tell me real. You're saying exact match domains don't work. I have data that proves way otherwise, and I can show you. And he said, he looked around, he's like, okay, nobody's paying attention. He goes, Ben, 60% of what I say is misinformation and misdirection.
Dude, Matt Cutts is going to be watching this, and he's going to go, I remember that conversation. Now you're a dick because you said you weren't going to tell anybody.
Yeah, 20 years later, right.
But that's the thing that upset me about this, too, is like, I thought it was odd that the guy that found it went to Rand first, because Rand hasn't been in SEO for 7 years,
Yeah.
So that was strange. But then everybody going, oh, geez, this proves Google lied to us. And I'm like, why did you need proof? Like, it's literally their job to not tell us how the algorithm works, because what do people think that the Matt Cutts, the Garys, the John Muellers, that their job is to tell us exactly how the algorithm works so we can game the algorithm? No. Of course they're going to mislead us. Like, I mean, it was just like so asinine for people to be like, oh my God, we finally have proof that Google lied to us. Like, of course, we've known that all along, Yeah.
So, I mean, but the takeaway there is that you need to look at some of this stuff with a grain of salt, right? And which goes back to what Joy was saying, which is just test it. Okay, whoop-de freaking do. So you put resources into testing. You should anyway. And just don't take a freaking $1 trillion company's word at face value is what it really comes down to.
Yeah.
And holistically, when I look at SEO, I'm lucky or fortunate that I've been in this business before Google was even born, basically, right? Mm-hmm. And doing SEO before SEO was even a freaking word. I mean, we're doing web internet stuff, right? And back in those days, you got links because links brought you traffic. Traffic brought you sales. You would go ahead, you would bold a keyword on a page because bold meant you had emphasis on that keyword, right? You didn't do it for SEO. You did it because a user was going to come. And you would link one page to another because it made sense. If you're talking about hotels and you want to have a page about hotels, you would link to that page about hotels, or you would link to the Chamber of Commerce page with hotels. It just made sense. And you did it for the user. And I think that's a lot of these signals really do show is that Google does want to do something which is going to benefit the user. And if you look at things through that lens, you're always doing holistic SEO.
Yeah.
Everything else is just technical mumbo jumbo sometimes. All right.
To get to some questions today.
Yes. So we are doing that.
Probably go right to the live questions. So,
oh, geez. Yeah, we can do it. Yeah, let's do it.
It is time for y'all to come on down.
Oh my God.
Okay, so we've got several questions in there. Let's start with the first question from James. True or false? James heard through the grapevine that Google is rolling out premier support for those spending over a certain dollar amount in LSAs and maybe Google ads. And the premier support would work for normal organic GBP listings.
The grapevine is lying to you.
I was going to say, the only news I've heard is actually some of the bigger advertisers with Google are getting screwed right now because they're getting their credit card payments taken away, which, for the record, if you're spending like $100,000 a month with Google ads, which lots of businesses do, and you get no credit card points now, that's a pretty big
that's
ding.
Huge.
What?
Huge. You didn't hear about that?
No. Well, did you say this again?
Google was it like yesterday or the day before they announced they're going to start making certain accounts pay by ACH and not by credit card because they're trying to save their credit card processing fees.
That's going to piss off so many companies.
Like Joy said.
It has. Trust me. I've talked to a few of them. Like, yeah, people are really pissed about this. Like big spenders, big advertisers are getting screwed. So this idea that Google, like, loves their big advertisers, like, yeah, they just took away credit card points from them. So I don't, yeah.
Oh man, there are some people who are their black card is going to suffer.
Right? Think about those agencies that also used to do their client spend. I know several, and they'd have like hundreds of thousands of dollars in ad spend charged to their card every month. I mean, how many free trips is that? I don't know.
We have one card that we specifically use for the few clients that want us to do it on our, they're like, just do it on yours and just bill us. So we have a card that we do that with, and it's six figures. It's a good 6 figures number. It's going to suck to lose all those points if they make us start doing the same thing.
Yeah. No. Man, I remember when I was in the hosting industry, when that industry was just growing up, those guys were spending literally $100,000 a day on AdWords, right? Yeah. So yeah, every CEO, every marketing director over at a hosting company, they all had black cards, and we would go out and party on them. So, but yeah, oh my God, yeah, whew, that sucks. Okay. All right. Well, good to know.
Let's ask the next question to Joy.
Okay.
No, the next one from Alana is to Joy.
Okay.
Well, it's going to be all three of us.
All right.
Next question is from our buddy Joey, and Joey's going to be going through a reinstatement next week. Is there anything new with the process lately?
Who you want to give that one to, Greg?
You.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Joey, all right. Joey, you're here still. When you say, is there anything new with the process lately? How long has it been since you've done a reinstatement? Like if you did one a month ago, that's a totally different question than if your last reinstatement was a year ago. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm slacking. There's Joey.
Come on, Joey. Oh, there he is. Oh, okay, shit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we got some news for you. All right. Give me a second. Let me grab a link. Okay, there we go. All right, Joey. So what you're going to do is you're going to start here. Okay. What you're going to do is make sure in the bottom right-hand side, you'll see where it says switch account. So this will log you into whatever your user account 0 is, which is probably your personal account, maybe. And then you can switch your account if you have an agency account or if you have basically any other accounts where your Google Business Profile listing actually is. Once you do that, you're going to go ahead and hit next. And then you're going to go ahead and type in the top one, type in name, colon, and then just the beginning of the name. Okay. Okay. So you understand the process. Good. I don't have to go over that crap then. Yeah. So basically, the biggest thing that you need to do, if you've read up my articles or other articles, you'll notice that you have a 60-minute window to provide your proof. Make sure that you do click this link that says add evidence. It opens up a new tab. Do not close this tab. There is no way to go back to this. Even clicking add evidence again will not give it back to you. You have 60 minutes basically to provide your evidence. So the biggest thing that you have to do now is you have to, and you kind of had to do this before, is go over your evidence with a fine-tooth comb. Make sure that you have enough supporting documentation that is going to prove that this business is as real as possible. Make sure you go over all the guidelines. The guidelines have been rewritten to be a lot more specific now. So, make sure you do take a weekend. It'll only take you 2 hours max. And that's if you read slow, but go through all of the guidelines, look at everything. And more importantly, take a look at the email that you got about the suspension. That's going to have a link that goes, hopefully, to the section of the guidelines specifically that they're saying that is wrong. This, by the way, can be misleading because it could say you have post content. Oh, well, guess what? It was a brand new, profile. How could I have post content? I didn't post anything. Deceptive content is the most likely one that you're getting. Anyway, just make sure you got everything. So once you go ahead and you submit this, you are not going to get any more a case ID. What you will get actually is what you'll just get is you just kind of wait, basically, is what it comes down to. You can go back to the appeal tool and you can see your status at any time. Once you are reviewed, which can take anywhere from 1 to 7 business days. Currently, right now, it is around the 1 to 3 days business days timeline. Then you'll get an email. It's either going to be a positive or a negative. It'll be either an approval or it'll be denial. It is black and white. After that, basically, it's pretty much that one kind of shot process. There is a way to request a re-review, which I'm not going to get into here. But just make sure that you really do read through all of those guidelines. Don't go with the assumption that a lot of people go through and say, well, it's perfect. I know it's awesome. Yes, my client has signage and it's like, a Sharpie on a door, but that looks great to me. You can't do that anymore. You really, really need to be very OCD about the guidelines. And that's kind of the basics at the moment. I'm not going to go much deeper than that.
Boom. We got 5 minutes left. I really want to get to this next one because... Do it.
If we run a little bit over... Well, no, we can't run over. That's right. Joy has a hard stop. Keep going.
But while Joy is talking, you should copy the rest of the questions. And everyone, if we did not get to your question, come back in 2 weeks to get your question answered. But this next question is from Alana, and Alana would like Joy and you and me to do a live audit of the GBP for Crestview Recovery in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And, let me know if there's any more information. Nope, that's enough information. So as Joy picks it up and looks, Alana, the first thing that jumps out at me that I would say, I would check. I don't know, Alana, if you're also running the paid search for them, but I'm in Dallas and I'm doing a search for Crestview Recovery, Portland, Oregon. And I see a paid search ad for Crestview Recovery. And yes, I understand that people go to rehab outside of their immediate area, but if I'm explicitly searching for Crestview Recovery, Portland, Oregon, that's probably not something you need to serve me an ad for. So I would kind of check out your ad strategy and if that's something that you guys are handling. Joy, take it away.
Oh, man. I'm looking. Sorry, you're going to have to give me a minute.
Okay, as Joy is looking also, Alana, I'm assuming you're probably doing the Google posts for them, and the two Google posts that show both have exactly the same image, but two different messages. That's not going to be effective. I would for sure try to match the image to what the post is talking about. And the most recent one from yesterday, all we can see in the thumbnail is how long can someone stay in rehab? Explore the factors determining rehab stay. And then that's it. And if I click learn more, it goes to a blog post. I don't know what Joy and Ben do, but for sure we've done a lot of testing and using Google Posts to share social media shares like blog posts is not effective. It should be some sort of engaging promotional type offer. We like the offer posts, although they don't show on desktop, but just sharing a blog post there, why is anybody really going to click on that? This is a first impression that people get before they get to the website. You should have something that's going to be enticing and make them click through. That's probably not the right way to do it. Was that enough time, Joy?
Yeah.
Let me say one thing before Joy goes real quick. Elena, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that your review responses are absolutely being written by ChatGPT. Almost 100%. Either that or you're using somebody who is generating review responses and somebody's not editing these things.
Oh, yeah, these are not great.
No, we are truly humbled by your powerful words. It fills our hearts with joy to hear about the positive impact our step, especially Sean and Stephanie. No, this is AI. 100% AI written.
Yeah,
with
also,
no guardrails.
You've got products set up for like PTSD treatment, panic disorder, depression treatment. That's not the right way to use the products feed. The products feed is supposed to be for actual physical products, not esoteric services. You could potentially get in trouble for that. But if you were going to try to squeeze in and use it the way you're using it, I would not just put weird logo text there. I would like have an image if you're going to do it at all. But honestly, I wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, let Joy go on this. There's actually quite a few things that are wrong here. Go,
yeah,
Joy,
go. Okay, yeah, because I literally have to jump off in 3 minutes. There's the Q&A that is pinned to your profile is not answered. So if you scroll down to questions and answers, it says, do they have a quick time about getting you a bed? And no answers. So that's an easy thing to manipulate. You can, first of all, make sure that question gets an answer. And then you can manipulate which one Google chooses by upvoting the answers and the questions. So just have a bunch of your friends upvote it, and then you can kind of have some control over which one shows up in the knowledge panel, which will help.
I don't see Q&A on there, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it's one question.
It's not even showing for me, though. I just scrolled through it 3 times and refreshed.
Really?
I don't see Q&A.
It's right under posts for me. Oh, that's weird.
It's under reviews for me.
Weird. Anyway, go ahead, Joy.
Yeah, so that was one thing. I was just looking to see, like, as far as the review count and volume, it's pretty on par from what the other drug rehabs have. What's interesting is they don't have the review snippets. Like when I type in drug rehab Portland, Oregon, the second business that's listed gets like a review pulled in on their listing, and they do not. So there may be an attribute they have on their listing that's blocking that. There's a few that block them: on-site services, online appointments. There's another one, and I can't remember what it is, but it's something about virtual care or something like that. So if any of those attributes are selected as yes or no in your dashboard, they actually make it so that you don't get that review snippet pulled in into the local pack.
And if so, don't you have to contact support to untoggle them completely, right?
Or use a tool that uses the API. You can bypass contact support. But the other thing I'd probably say on the website, because I was pulling that up, I would get rid of the table of contents thing on the homepage. It's hidden behind the chat box. So I would get rid of that. I think table of contents are good to have on a really long page, but I would not put it in a sidebar there because you can't actually expand it. It's covered up by the chat box. So I would get rid of that.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I probably have a lot of other stuff. I'm just not something I can do in 30 seconds. Let me see.
Oh, weird. The questions and answers just showed up on my 4th refresh.
That's because
I would get on the
listening to
I'd get on the BBB as well. They're not on the BBB. I would definitely do that. That's worth usually a few $100s. Another link, it is a no followed link, but it usually ranks for a branded term. So it's another way to get a little more control over your branded terms. It's the BBB is usually like really willing to work with businesses.
Ooh, there's a lot of the questions that you don't have answered.
Yeah.
I got to bounce though, guys. I'm really sorry. I did have.
Oh no! Thanks for joining us, Joy.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Joy.
Yeah,
it's great to see you all.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
Yes, this time we'll have to wait. We won't wait a whole year. Yes, exactly.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
All right. Bye, Joy.
And to everyone else, thanks so much for joining us yet again. We will be back in 2 weeks. Neither one of us is traveling, so we will be here. For everyone else, Mark, Kim, Joey, James, and Joey making a statement. We will get to your questions next time.
Yes, we will.
Although you guys are always here, so I don't feel like I have to tell y'all to come back and check it out next time, because you're steadfast listeners and here every time.
Exactly. All right. Well, very cool. That wraps up another episode of the Local Marketing Institute Connect. Thanks, everybody, for joining Greg and I. We love you. We love having you guys here every other week. And have a safe, wonderful weekend. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye, all.